give out. I let love, I let go, I release, and I know. No matter what is going on in my life or in the world, I'm willing to know in my mind and to feel in my body and to experience in my life the joyous, loving, streaming life force that I am made of. I will continually return myself to this truth with tenderness and infinite patience. No matter what is going on in the world, even if it's a pandemic, or no matter what is going on in my life, even if I'm in quarantine, I'm willing to know in my mind and to feel in my body and to experience in my life the joyous, loving, streaming life force that I'm made of. So even during a pandemic, even during isolation, I'm willing to feel in my mind that streaming life force that I'm made of. It's what runs underneath all of the stories. It's the peace at the very bottom of your mind. And I'm willing to feel in my body this joyous life force even as we're afraid. Even as I don't know what's going to happen to my family and my friends and myself. But I'm willing to return to the place where every cell in my body is made of joy. Because illness doesn't come or can't hold on, let's put it that way. Illness can't hold on if your life force is so high. And so I'm willing to experience in my life that I will not be attracting illness or fear or loneliness. And I will continually return myself to this truth with tenderness and infinite patience, because you know you're not going to get it all at once. So over and over again, I return to this peace, this truth. And I have infinite patience with myself. No matter how many times I forget that everything is of God, I can keep returning to truth. I can keep returning to love. So I am willing to continually return any emotion, such as fear or shame or anger or jealousy, there's a good one, or sadness. I'm continually willing to return all of these emotions over to my highest self, to be healed or solved from a place of higher consciousness. My mind does not need to understand how this works. I am in this body to upgrade, to become more of my divinely human self. So let's include your mind with this. Because when we're meditating, we can pretty much hold to the truth. But once we add our mind, we go into duality. And so let's say I am willing to continually return any emotion, such as fear or shame or anger, jealousy or sadness, over to my highest self. So let's think about that. I'm willing to return my fear to my highest self. That takes me right back into the meditation. Do you see? I can't even keep my eyes open. I'm willing to return my shame, because all of us, every single one of us, wonder what we did wrong that would cause this intensity to be happening in our world. I turn that over to my highest self to be healed or solved from a place of higher consciousness, because we did the best we could. Yeah, it would have been nice if we had become more conscious sooner. But we were willing to let it all fall apart as it is now. Because we really do want to return to our highest truth. I'm willing to return my anger and my jealousy and my sadness, because we each feel all of those. It's okay. That's what human minds do. But we keep returning the human mind into the spaciousness of spirit. So my mind doesn't need to understand how this works. It can't. It's not hardwired to understand. The mind is created out of duality. It separates things into good and bad. But we don't need to do that. Because we are in this body, in this mind, to upgrade, to become more of our divine human selves. And divine human self means that we're 100% divine, and we can go to 100% peace anytime. And we are 100% human. And we can love and honor that human part of us that allows us to live in these amazing bodies, to have these incredible experiences of the blending of heaven and earth. Here's a hard one, but it'll be easy for your spirit. I am able to admit that divinity wants to flow through me today as gifts to myself. Did you get that? As gifts to yourself. What I am being called to allow and to know and to do and to be, so that I am deeply nourished and totally at peace. Can you allow yourself to give these gifts to yourself of what you want? What would nourish you? What would feed you so deeply that you continually return to peace? I know you're good at giving it to other people, but let's talk to your mind, your emotions, your personality. Are you able to admit that divinity wants to flow through you today for yourself? As blessings for yourself? What would you like? What do you need? What makes you come home to your body and spirit? Are you willing to love yourself as much as you profess to love others? Are you willing to be I don't know, maybe the word is forgiving of yourself. If you eat something that you think is not quite good for you, but it feeds your soul, it feeds your personality today. Are you willing to let yourself stop being busy? Just come into stillness and quiet. Because you can't fight with your mind. You can't fight with your emotions. You can't fight with your cravings. But you can love them. I am willing to celebrate that divinity wants to flow through me today as a gift to others. What am I being called to allow and to know and to do and to be in order to be used by love? Do you get that? Let's talk to your personality, to your mind. Are you willing to celebrate the fact that God wants to use you to be a gift to others? Are you so determined to see yourself as broken or less than? Because it's safer not to be noticed. Do you tell yourself, who am I to think that I know how to help someone else? And I'm not saying you need the answer to their problems. But who else is going to listen? Who else is going to pay attention? Who else is going to care what they're feeling during these hard times or any time? Can you allow yourself to be a blessing? Can you allow yourself to do whatever needs to be done? To say whatever needs to be said? Are you willing to allow yourself to be the expression of love? This can set up a battle because you've learned to stay under the radar. And yet, if there was ever a time when we need to come above radar, it's now. We need to be used by love. Not only do our spirits need to be used by love, but our personalities. And you say, oh, that's ego. But I'll just say that negative ego is when you think it's you doing it instead of God doing it through you. Love doing it through you. But it's positive ego. Being a blessing to others is supposed to feel good. And if it feels good, don't feel ashamed. Say, yay, I know I'm on the right track. I love living in a universe where the divine makes me feel good for being a blessing. Have you even considered that you can trust that if it feels good, it's leading you in the right direction? So I am willing to celebrate that divinity wants to flow through me today as a gift to others. We need to be used by love. I am willing to know, and this is the big one, that no matter how difficult anything that happens in my life, it is a blessing. There is nothing that can occur that is not of God. Perhaps these challenges you're going through right now, perhaps these challenges we're all going through, are our soul's best way to help us move to the next stage. And while honoring whatever I'm experiencing, I pray that I begin to learn more and more from joy and from love. rather than from pain and resistance. I already know how to do and to be this divine human, as this was my natural radiant state of being before I shut down to match the world rather than God. So let's talk to you, your person, who I am so in love with. Can you say to yourself, I am willing to know that no matter how difficult anything that happens in my life, it's a blessing. Can you know this about losing your job? Or about going through grief? Or about not knowing where money is going to come from? Or food? It's okay to be upset. It's okay not to like what is going on. But what you need to know is that underneath the emotions of whatever is happening, your spirit is still in charge. Your soul is in charge, because there's nothing that can occur that is not of God. Are you willing to know that so that you stop suffering as we go through this change in the world? You stop using it as an excuse to get outraged or feel betrayed by God or by each other, by your friend. Are you willing to return to the knowing that if this is happening, who you're with during this quarantine, who you're not with, what you have and what you don't have, are you willing to remember that it can't happen unless it's of God? And so spend some time figuring out, why would my soul bother to put me in this situation? What am I being taught? Because perhaps these challenges are your soul's best way to help you move to the next stage. For example, if you didn't listen to yourself, and you were too busy, and you were too exhausted, or you were too angry, then God has to get a little bit louder. God has to get your attention by making you more upset. So the change, the aha can come if you understand that this might be your soul's best way to help you move to the next stage. And while honoring whatever you are experiencing, pray that you begin to learn more and more from joy and love rather than from pain and resistance. Can you let that in? That it's probably true, most of the mystics say, that in our earlier stages of evolution, we learn from fear. We learn from what doesn't work. We learn to hunt because we don't want to be hungry. We learn to get sick to tell ourselves to slow down. But what if you're to the stage, and I think that's part of what's trying to happen right now. What if you're at that new level where you can learn from what feels good, from what gives you joy, from what makes you feel your own divinity? Because you really do already know how to do and to be this divine human. As this was your natural state. Before you learned to shut down so that you wouldn't outrage your parents or your family or your society, before you wouldn't get in trouble. But you remember that frustration because you knew a deeper, higher truth. The truth of matching God rather than limitation. Namaste. this moment, in this place, I remember who I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. When I lose myself, when it seems I've lost my way, when I go inside and quiet my mind, I can hear Spirit gently say, there is only love. There is only love. It's a love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love. It's the love that heals, the love that sets me free. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love. There is only love. There is only